Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. This is Syya, and I am with Innovation Media Enterprises, producing the Afterglow Recap podcast in association with Global Leaders Organization. Holy smokes, I finally got it right, Mo. Can I just tell you?
I think that actually was the smoothest intro you've done so far. So
it's only been over
bravo.
a year, Mo, that we've been doing this. So welcome back, Mo Hasan, Miami GLO Chair. Always happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I'm glad I didn't offend anyone so horrifically and that you didn't have me back. So this is awesome.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Willis? No,
I'm saying you should go check out some of the past episodes when I was on and judge for yourself. So.
Oh, you're so funny. You're cracking me up. So, well, as always, you know what it is. We're here to highlight members, and and then we will absolutely keep doing that as much. But I just love having people that have good power, or not, I just read into power, good connections with. And just talking with you and hearing all the cool things that you're doing over in Miami. I just want to keep promoting you as well, because I feel like, I say this all the time with podcasting, but it's absolutely true with entrepreneurship as well. As all ships rise with the tide. And as every chapter at GLO grows, the more successful we'll all be mutually, because we're just building a better, bigger, happier community. So I applaud you with all the things that you're doing with Miami. So what is your secret sauce? What is it you've done to grow such a cool crew?
Sue, thank you so much. I tell you what, I feel the same way as far as all the rising tide raises all ships, because I feel like everyone else's success at GLO is also my success, right? We're on the same team, so it's a fabulous team to be a part of. And I think the secret sauce here in Miami is the attitude that our mayor has taken on, that Miami, Mayor Suarez has said, time and time again, Miami is open for business. Miami is open for technology, for innovation, for investments, for venture capital, for private equity, for family office dollars. And that's exactly who's come into town and exactly what's going on. So it's no surprise that this week, again, we have another major blockchain conference going on in Miami. In fact, we have two conferences going on. There's the main conference for the blockchain Bitcoin folks. And then there's a secondary conference called the Shitcoin 2021 conference to represent all the other coins that aren't represented in the main conference.
Did you just say the SHIT word?
It's actually the legal technical name of the conference is the Shitcoin 2021 conference. So check it out. They're very interesting. I went to some of their parties last night. I'm going to another one of their parties tonight because a lot of my friends are putting on events. And so the secret sauce in Miami is that we really see that the world never got shut down for us down here. Right? Like as far as someone who's been in the city, who throws parties, who goes to parties, let me tell you, when the bars shut down, the club shut down, we just took it indoors to private venues and private homes, and nothing shut down. And the secret here is that we never stopped being a community through COVID. Right? Yes, there were online meetings. Yes, we buckled down and we did all the things because offices were closed and all that stuff. Yes, we did that part. But in Miami, we still got together. We still kept in communication. We still made sure that our members, our friends in the business community were getting together and enjoying our best life, because we came to live in Miami for a reason. Right? There's a reason we don't live in boring wherever you are in America or the world. No offense to you, anyone. But, there's a hashtag I live where you vacation, right? So our attitude has been that the community exists because we continuously create the community. And I got to really give credit to all the awesome entrepreneurs in the city that have continued to, no matter what they went through in this struggle, they've kept that attitude going. And I think that's our secret sauce.
I love it. And I am such an advocate for ensuring that we have a solid community, because it really just means you trust each other. Right. And I think that's what the crux and the basis of this week's conversation was really about, was, what is trust? Do you have it? Do you give it? And what steps do you take to ensure that you enable trust to even happen? And so, so let's do this. Erin looks like she's joining us now. So let me just go ahead and pull her off real quick and add Erin to the stream. Welcome, Erin.
Hola. Sorry I'm late.
No worries at all. So this week we had Mr. David Horsager talk to us about trust. And I gotta tell you, he founded this company 22 years ago, and he calls it the Trust Edge Leadership Institute. I just find that interesting. 22 years ago, he found a concept of trust, and he's banked his entire business on that premise. I mean, how much trust could you have in yourself to do that? Like, that was crazy to me. When he said he had $1.44 in his bank account, 80 cents of which was to keep the bank account alive. I mean, do you have that level of trust in yourself, first off, guys?
So I actually do.
I'm
I
not
do
shocked.
have enough trust in myself. I'm happy to let that plane slide down, scratch against the asphalt a little bit, and take back off. Because one thing I do have is certainty that I can create revenue anytime. So I'm not worried.
Yeah, I knew you would, Mo. I don't. Like I love lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of savings. That's where my trust. But yeah, no, I mean, just even trusting processes can be just the whole thing is interesting. Getting others to trust you, but trusting yourself is, I think, sometimes much harder.
I think that self-doubt often comes into play, right? And so, and then that's the thing is like he was talking about, the fact that you will like scrape and you'll start with the sparks. I mean, literally what you just described to me, I just can literally visually see you, Mo, like dragging some metal with those sparks flying behind you and then you taking off. Like I could just totally see that, which is so you. I think it's so inherently in you. I think it's part of your personality, but is it something where you think you could be trained to take those types of risks? Is that a personality issue? And I keep going back and forth on this, but is it a personality issue, or is it you can train your brain and train your mind and train your spine?
And not even personality, but parents engraving, like in your head too. Sorry, Mo. Like I think that's where mine came from. Go ahead, Mo.
Well, I was going to say something that this isn't popular news, but it is a basic understanding of emotional intelligence, which is that actually it turns out that for most people, most aspects of your personality are nothing more than trauma responses and adaptation to environment. So most of your personality that's there, if you're attached to it, great, enjoy it, but you can actually work on it. And there are ways to improve whatever it is that is limiting you to take on different viewpoints. And for me, when I look at it from a spiritual viewpoint, right, because as an entrepreneur, I'm always seeking out, how do I do the least amount of things possible to be effective? I'm not interested in how do I do the most, right? I'm interested in how do I do the least amount to be effective. And so I go to spiritual teachings for this. And one of the teachings is that anytime you think that creation takes time, you are experiencing an aberration of the mind.
Huh.
Interesting.
Right? Because creation itself is instant. Like when you fall in love, it's instant. You can create a business instantly because everything is instant. So anytime you think that anything takes time, is actually nothing more than your mind just being a little, here's a trauma response to this, a consideration of this, a fixed viewpoint on this, a belief system of this. So you combine all of those things, that aberration that is not the pure you, that is the mind. And so it's just an easy way to evaluate myself. Whenever I think something's going to take a while, I know I'm a little screwed up.
Okay, so here's a great question to that, Mo, because the realist in me, right? Okay, so on average, right, you hear all the business, but right, average, 2 years to turn profits, right, on a business.
Yeah.
So I can create a business right away. I 100% agree with you. Business creation is super easy. Moving to that place where you're in a flow, you feel like, on average, you're going to see the numbers. Do you just say, screw the average, I don't believe it, it's all hearsay? Or do you feel there are
averages that's a great point, Erin. It's because on average, or we look at the averages. For me, I look at my life and I look at what is the state of existence for the average being. Well, the state of existence for the average being is that they are operating in a degraded state of existence, operating out of fear, anxiety, stress, an inability to consider their universe completely. So do I want to evaluate anything in my life against that metric and that standard? I don't care what the heck they're doing. I couldn't be any less interested in what the average person's metrics are for existence, because it's just irrelevant.
Yeah, see, and I always feel I can buck the norm too, and that's where sometimes my problem is. I set expectations probably a bit too high because I feel like I can buck I should. I don't. It's a very interesting
Erin,
conversation.
Maybe you set expectations high enough.
Don't tell me that. I set them too high.
No, I think you should actually, if you feel like they're too high, then they're probably high enough because you've added an emotional consideration.
No.
You guys are hella
have a
deep.
counseling session of this today. So so Mo, were you always like this, or was there a point, like, did you always have this kind of naturally where you're like, I'm going to take this deeper? Or did you hit a moment where you're like, my life is screwed, I need to change 180?
I would say that there has not been a singular point of transformation, but instead hundreds of points of transformation in my life, where at some point in my life as a child, I felt like I was okay. And then things went to garbage as a teenager and adult life. And, there was like a progression of falling apart, right? Or continuing more to be less me, I would say, right? To be a jerk, to be, work-wise, business-wise, you would think I was a wild success, but really who I was is not a good thing.
And Jonas makes a really good point of that real quick, though, is that you can build the trust within others, but if you don't trust yourself, right, you have to actually choose to trust yourself, no matter how much you might outwardly display, quote, calmness, success, confidence, etc. So let's talk about this then, you guys, because Mo, this is your like bailiwick. I know this is your jam. So I knew when we were talking.
This is a big thing for me. And, so just so you know, like I was very, very much interested in this topic because there was a book called Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. I don't know if you guys have read that. So in my executive life, Speed of Trust changed my life. Right. It was like one of those pivotal moments that had me realize, like, hey, how do we choose as executives to be on a board together? How do we choose to be executives together in long-term projects that are mission driven? And understanding that how to build that trust was like a huge, huge thing. So I love the way that actually he broke it out into these compartments because it has been a missing thing for most people. I don't think most people really know how important trust is to teams, to sales, to community building, to relationships, to love, to all the things. So I was actually super delighted, and I was actually shocked that I'd never seen this guy before or read his book. Had you heard of him before?
I had not, which is crazy because, I mean, obviously 22 years in that specific industry, clearly he's got influence, right? I mean, people do know him, but again, I'm not familiar with this whole industry anyway. So let's talk about these 8 pillars. And I just love the fact he prefaced it with, by the way, this is not me doing like those, what did he say? It was, yes, it all starts with the letter C, but it wasn't meant to be some kind of buzzwordy marketing BS kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
I mean, I really like David. Like I want to bring him back for the Dallas chapter, like, cause I thought he was so authentic and I really appreciated that. So let's talk about the 8 pillars. We're not going to go down every single one deeply, but we should mention them. And for those that want to learn more, I want to get a little bit more information, there's actually a promo that he's offering at the end that I'll share. But let's talk about it. Number 1, he said clarity, distrust, ambiguous or overly complex. We just naturally look at something and it's like, if you're not 100% clear with whatever you're communicating, people immediately just assume you're hiding something. It's shady. You're just not clear.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I 100% agree with that. And it's hard to commit to somebody or believe in somebody or trust a company if you don't have clarity of what they do or how they're, it's as simple as, how does this person or this company make my life better and easier? And if I can't, I'll move on to somebody that I can trust who can make that very clear to me.
And it's harder. And he said it very plainly. It's harder, or it's easier said than done. Right. And he said, we think we're being clear. Think of all these, like, I mean, geez, I can think of back in my, corporate life, leadership thought they're being transparent with us, but just because you're telling us something doesn't necessarily mean it's coming out cleanly or comes off as authentic or comes out, whatever it might be. So one component of it is 8 these pillars don't work independently of one another. They're in combination. And then there's, definite combinations of all of them. So it's not necessarily all 8. It could be 4 or 5 on that situation. So the second one is compassion, care beyond yourself. This one resonated with me just because recently I've been networking with a lot of different individuals, learning about them and themselves. And I've noticed there's lack of reciprocation. A lot of people like to talk about themselves and only want to promote themselves. And you're like, wow, that was a great networking conversation about yourself. Have you seen that or experienced it? And do you think that compassion is a pillar to build that trust?
So clarity for me definitely rings true, right? For clarity in language, being exact, all that. With compassion, I think this is where we have to really maybe break it down a little bit. And I have not read the book yet, so I am looking forward to reading the book. And maybe when he comes on again, I'd love to come back again and discuss it. Because for me, like compassion kind of shows up in a couple of different ways. One is, let's take a room full of people, right? You're in a networking meeting, you're in a room full of people, and now you're having a conversation with this one person who is just talking about themselves and promoting whatever, right? And it's really just irrelevant to you. So do we exercise then compassion to the person in front of us, right? And allow them to communicate? Or is there perhaps someone else in the room who is actually dying to meet you, right? And we exercise compassion towards them. Or perhaps we also consider that we're in business to be of service. And so there's our customers to serve, our partners to serve, et cetera. Do we exercise compassion for them by being intentional about our communications in the networking room? And I think that there's probably some sort of delicate balance of the 3 to look at, but I think just like anything else in this universe, no 2 things are the same. So there must be some way to evaluate that one is of greater significance than others, right? So I think if there's already a relationship with you, there's already a connection with you, an exchange with you, right? You're a customer, you're a partner, you're a vendor, then I would say that you're a priority for me than a prospect. Right. So, if you're a team member, then you're more a priority for me than a customer because my relationship with you is even more intimate. Right. And then so forth and so on. So for me, it's that's how I would prioritize it because I can't do the whole compassion for everybody. I would just hide on the boat. I don't know.
Yeah, I probably need to find a little more compassion, a lot more. But no, that's a great point though. Like, do you have compassion? Do you I can't stand monologuers, right? In fact, it's just, I can't stand when somebody will not even say, well, how are you doing? Right? Because it just drives me insane. Because I'm never going to be that person that's like, let me tell you, and I feel, but maybe I should have more compassion for those people because maybe they're hurting and they feel this need to put themselves up, right? But okay, I can have compassion for them, but does that mean I have to? And I know this is not how it's intended, but will I trust them and want to work with them? Like I can feel bad for them, right? And be like, oh, maybe your mom didn't love you enough. That sucks. But do I need to do business with them and have that compassion? But I see that understanding, having that compassion for others is where trust builds. Like people will think you're the greatest person in the world and you've never said a word. You've just asked them questions, right? And you've gone and you've felt like they feel like you do have compassion for them because you asked the right questions, but they know nothing about you, but they will trust you. You know what I mean?
Right. It's actually, was it Robert I can never say his name, Herjavec, Erin, when you first met Herjavec, when you met him for your entrepreneur summit, I remember you were like, wow, blown away because you'd never gotten to meet the guy, right? You hired him to be the keynote for the fireside chat. But when you finally got to meet him backstage, he did the research on you, but he listened to, he asked you tons of questions and you felt like you had that connection with him and he listened. And I think that's one of those skills, why he is so successful, why he's so influential is the fact that he had that compassion to learn about you. I mean, heaven knows if he forgets it 5 minutes later, it doesn't matter. In that moment in time, you trusted him to know that he was going to do well for you at the Entrepreneur Summit.
Yeah, it's that point of making someone feel special. I think there is that compassion, right? And people just really, I think we all crave that a bit. Like whether it's I took the time to study you or I'm taking the time right now for you, or I understand, like as a business, I understand what you're going through right now. I understand what is happening. And this is why we created this product or service because we understand so much of what you're going through. We have compassion for you. We want to do that. And I think that ability, whether in all different cases, can I make someone feel like I get them and I understand them and I feel for them? I know there's a line between compassion and empathy, but still being able to convey that feeling, not even that message, that feeling.
Right. And Joseph just added on that compassion in the context of personal life with his children is very different than compassion that he has for business. And it's funny. He just said it out loud. There are people I trust with my kids that I would never trust in business. Context is hard to see. So let's talk about that. So
yeah, that's a distinction in trust for sure.
100%.
Sure. So talk about character then, right? So what's the character of yourself? And what's the character of your company? You're just kind of rounding it out, and thanks for helping us move along here, Joseph. But he stated, David had stated, there's a 7. He's got an institution in class. He has a 7-step process to drive organizations to build an actual corporate character and individual character. So let's talk about this. Can you be representative of a company have a different character than the company character itself? Does it matter? Is character culture? Is that another word for culture?
So this is interesting because I've witnessed this a lot in various corporations and organizations around the world where people hold their identity as a separate thing, as like their work identity versus their home identity versus their friend identity versus their vacation identity versus whatever. And they kind of are actors playing this role in reality, where when they go to work, they all of a sudden, at home they're a teddy bear, but at work they're this culture of very hard-ass militant type management folks. So I think it's really just, there's another word that comes back to this, which is authenticity, right? And people who create these identities to wear these personas, you can usually tell they're not super pleasant to be with. Right. And they have a harder time building those close relationships because I've met some people that, man, in real life, they are nasty. They're just like nasty, ugly human beings. Not ugly physically, ugly in like the way they treat people, ugly in the way they behave, etc. But they go to work and they have read like every management book and like every Stephen Covey thing and every John Maxwell thing. And they say all the right things and they ask all the right questions and they're all bubbly. And then they walk out of that office and you just want to like ill. So I think it goes both ways. So I don't know, Erin, what have you seen about it?
No, it's really interesting. Like, I think, like, if I think of a company's character, right, the first thing that popped to mind when you said that is American Airlines. American Airlines, like, I fly them, but they pretty much act like they do you a favor by flying you places. I mean, that's just how they act versus the Southwest Airlines, right? I mean, it's like, you're welcome. You got a seat on the plane, sit down. Well, maybe, it's just like, that's how you feel getting on that plane. So as a person, I really don't, I just like, whatever, I just deal with that. But as a person, would I align with that company when I feel like that's the character they put out? I don't know. It's just a very interesting, and Mo, you're so spot on in when I compartmentalize all my identities of who I am over here versus here, it can't be, I don't think it can be done, because it's like, who am I today? Who am I supposed to be? And you're more of a chameleon than an actual person.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. I feel like you'd have to be, and American Airlines is a very large example because it's a really big company, but I don't know if that was, that's what I felt what we put off, if I'd want to be the CEO of that company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you should mention that, because tying that back to the trust of like, he said, you exhibit one certain behavior, you can guarantee that they will trust you will repeat that same behavior. So the American Airlines, and we're not bashing American Airlines. I'm a member as well of the,
I frequently fly them. I do it. Like, I get on every time.
Right. Well, but it reminds me of part of the character and I guess culture of a company is Southwest Airlines. I saw this thing that went viral where this woman on a $20 dare from her family shipped a pool noodle to her location from wherever she was going to, whatever. And she posted it and showed how she checked it in and then picked it up at the airport. And she's like, I won my bet family. And they actually, she was sitting by the window and saw the pool noodle going into the plane as they load it up and going on the conveyor belt. And there's these two dudes just like just looking at this pool noodle, like, what the heck is this? Well, by virtue of these two dudes like looking at each other, like going, what the hell is this? But they still put it on there nicely and gently that a lot of it went viral. So guys, people were talking about those two dudes saying like, look, even just a stupid pool noodle, Southwest Airlines baggage handlers took care of it. So when she flew home, Southwest Airlines got hold of it. So she gets on her flight and all the baggage handlers had these pool noodles down there on the thing and they're all like waving at her. And then when she landed at the location, they had all these pool noodles all over the conveyor belt that as people were picking up their baggage saying, welcome home. Like,
wow.
That's personality and character of
that's
a company.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. American Airlines would have been like, we got your pool noodle back. You're welcome.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. You're safe, aren't you? You're
yeah,
landed.
exactly.
So that's a good point. So it's like, how does an organization then create that character? Are they doing it only when they are doing marketing? Are they doing it in their product design? Are they doing it in PR?
Yeah.
Right. Like, or is it all of those things?
Exactly.
I think it has to be all of those things. Like Southwest, like they obviously didn't go to the CEO and were like, hey, we got this pool noodle idea. This lady, do you mind if we go buy some pool noodles? Like, and the fact that the baggage handlers were like, there's some way that, and I look at it very similar to culture, right? But it's that we handle everything, like doesn't matter. And when you see these opportunities, you hear a lot of those really cute stories from Southwest Airlines. Like somebody got married before and they did this, I mean, they just do like such sweet things for people. So it has to be in all areas right now of their, it has to be permeating in various areas because you see so many of those stories from that company specifically.
Exactly. So that Ryan, I'm kind of skipping through the things here because guys, we could talk about this forever, but consistency. When a enterprise has the ability to consistently pull out these types of stories, these feel good stories, or it's not even like, yeah, it's a feel good, but it's not even like it was such a simple gesture. You know what I mean? It wasn't an ad campaign, right? It was just simply noticing, hey, there's something that we could do that's just fun and silly. I think businesses sometimes forgets at times that personality to be silly, to be fun, to be a little spontaneous goes a long way with building trust.
But is that part of your personality though in general? Like what if a company kind of comes out of the blue to be silly and do you trust them if it takes you off guard?
Well, no, yeah, it has to be within the character of the culture.
Yeah.
Southwest from the jump, though, had always been all about the customer
100%.
service experience, and they were always a little snarky, right? I remember when I first started flying with them back in the day. I mean, their steward or flight attendants. Ooh, I'm old. Flight attendants, they didn't say they have to legally say all the precautions while you get ready, but they would always slide in a couple one-liners, right? That's what Southwest got known for. Or what person wrapped it, right? Like that competency, which is another one, to trust your employees, to have the competency, to have some free reign. That's also another thing where the company trusts the employees, and then the customers will trust the company because of that consistency.
Yeah, go ahead, Mom.
Oh, I was going to say that this is one of the things that I've witnessed about, companies that have sustainability in employee retention, especially like in good cultures, et cetera, is that they invest heavily in training and development of their teams, right? They make sure that the newest intern coming in has a career track that they can retire from that organization in management or as a senior engineer or whatever that may be. And that creates a lot of trust internally in the company as well as with customers because they know, hey, there's a management track because that makes your investors happy. When you go to the board meeting and you've seen the same faces for decades, it builds a lot of trust with people. So I was just going to say that one other thing with like consistency and that trust part is that, I think that consistency doesn't necessarily have to be a stable thing. It could also be consistency in pattern. So if you're known as a company that innovates regularly, then showing competency in that innovation over and over and over again, you can be doing different stuff and that's okay. I think Elon Musk is a good example of that. Right? He's all over the place, but he shows competency. So there's trust.
But the thing is though, he shows commitment. right? It's that
Yeah.
commitment to maybe changing it up. So consistently change it up. I mean, come on, who launches a flamethrower business and an electric car business? And it's,
Right.
I mean, so it's almost like expect the unexpected, and that's his branding,
And
and
the
that's
tequila business. So whatever he did that one time as well, right? Like a random thing.
right. Oh, so Dawn McKenzie, thanks for joining, Dawn. She had mentioned that they just launched a culture institute, ColleenBarrett.com. So it's great tools to learn how to create that kind of culture. So if anyone's interested in that, it's in the comments right there, and to check it out. So commitment, right? So you have to be committed to consistently execute on all this, to clarity, compassion, character. And then the last part they was talking about was connection and collaboration. Obviously, we can talk about all of these things, but if you're not working with others, you're not just doing it by yourself, it's going to fall flat on its face. So now, he did say with connection and collaboration, that's going to happen as a result of so much of this activity. But he said it over and over again, and I had to put it down. You got to do the work. You can't just simply say, I did the checklist. You have to do it. You have to execute on it. But come on, you guys. How easier said than done? Again, we said this. I mean, it's hard to motivate change in others, much less yourself. So is this like a never-ending battle, you guys? Is this going to be a constant, like, intentional
I
daily?
think so. I think this is like every other thing in growth. You do it, and then you really work on it, and then you die, and then you either get another shot or you don't.
Yeah.
So, well,
I think you
so
got to suck it up.
exactly. So, well, you guys, I can't believe how fast time is going on this. So, for those that are interested in learning more, David was gracious enough to offer this. So, it's the Trust Tools and latest research. Email Trust Tools, and add reference GLOW in the header. And then just send it to Allison at trustedge.com, and she'll take care of you guys and give you the tools you need. Next week, you guys, super excited about this. Focus your team and get the important work done. That is next week's After GLOW Business Acceleration 2.0 speaker, Kurt Steinhorst. So if you are interested in learning more about GLOW, Erin, where can people go?
That's my cue. All right, so head over to With GLOW. GLOW stands for Global Leaders Organization. You can sign up for any of these events, and then we'd love to have you join us either in Miami, if with Mo, or if you're in Dallas, Syya and myself, and become a premium member, and then you get access to the VIP section. And just real quick, I looked at it. The link Dawn posted is actually Southwest Airlines course on culture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
So ColleenBarrett.com.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Mo, any last thoughts for those that want to like get a hold of you, get to know you, and Into Power, which we didn't really talk about? My apologies, but come on, you're a regular. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you want to follow me, I'm on LinkedIn as the Mo Hasan, TheMoHasan. Same on Instagram, same on Facebook and Twitter as well. And if you'd like to join one of our events, we're doing our next event at the Lab Miami on June 17th. It'll be part of an all-night evening with lots of events. We're doing the first hour of programming. You're going to get a taste of something we call the Forum, which I think you're going to love. It's an awesome GLOW product, and coming up June 17th. So come join us there. Thanks.
Excellent. And on that note, guys, it looks like we will wrap it up for another episode of the Afterglow Live Recap podcast. We will see you next week for the Business Acceleration 2.0 series, Thursdays at 10 a.m. And of course, Afterglow, Fridays at 10 a.m. See ya.